Okay, let's talk about that a little bit. So the question basically is that, raised as a Muslim, born raised as a Muslim, read the Quran, never understood it. We were told to keep it on a high shelf, or have high regard for it. Later on in life, I decided to try to figure out what is this book even saying. So you get a translation of the Quran, you start reading. And as you're reading the translation, you start thinking, oh, this is what it means. This is what it means. You start making some conclusions about what the Quran is saying based on your readings. And then you get told by friends, that's dangerous because you might misinterpret what it's saying, right? Because you're not qualified, or etc. So how are you supposed to interact with the Quran? And aren't you just supposed to have if you have good intentions, you'll get the right meanings out of it, essentially, right? That's the comment. So I'll say a few things about that. The first thing I'll say is reading the Quran in translation is a good thing. Trying to understand what it's saying is a good thing. Coming up with certain conclusions, up until now, I have no problem with the process. Is also a good thing. The problem happens after that. After that, let's just say because this is important, right? This is Allah's word. And also there's a barrier. What's that barrier? The barrier of translation, right? And sometimes things are lost in translation, right? So now once you get to a point where you read something and you understood something, now is the time for you to go to somebody who is more seasoned than you, perhaps more learned, perhaps a group of people that have been studying, perhaps an environment online, a course, something where people have actually dedicated time to academically properly study the book, and present your conclusion and say, hey, I have this conclusion. Am I right? This is what I was thinking. Does that make any sense? And you know what? 22, 23 years of studying the Quran now, I still do that. That's still my process. I'm reading something, I think I understand it, and I go to scholars and other colleagues and others and say, this is what I was thinking. What do you guys think? Does that make any sense? And there's still a back and forth. This is actually the way by which contemplation on the Quran should happen. And what you'll learn as you engage in that journey is not you, but a person will stop hiding behind what can only call intellectual laziness. What that means is if a subject is important enough, you will dive deep, right? But for some reason, Muslims tell themselves, well, Allah said Quran is easy, so I don't have to dive deep. It should be easy for me to just get it without any engagement. Allah says, لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ, so they contemplate deeply into its ayat. Like, He gave me this treasure, and He expects me to spend time exploring it, put effort into exploring it. And what I want is a convenient, kind of a relationship where I just do a surface reading, make a conclusion, and go on and say, no, Allah said it should be easy. I don't want to make it hard on myself. No, not hard, but should hard work be put in? Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth putting in the hard work, worth putting in resources, worth buying literature, buying an English tafsir of the Quran, for example, with a scholarly commentary on the Quran. Here's what I thought. I wonder what the scholar had to say. Even sometimes you read a scholar, you might not find the answer you're looking for, and you keep exploring. You keep asking, you keep investigating. And sometimes it's okay to have ayat of the Quran about which you have questions, and you've got in your notes little question marks on it, and you don't have the answer yet, because maybe one day Allah will open that door for you. Maybe one day you'll run into somebody who can maybe help you find that answer, etc. Right? So that's part of our journey with Allah's book. It's the same exact thing we would want a non-Muslim to do. A non-Muslim will end up reading the translation of the Quran, have certain questions. You know what we would want them to do? Go talk to a Muslim who knows better. Isn't that what we would want? And we have now a situation where the vast majority of Muslims have no idea what the Quran is. None. No clue. And even when they begin to try to explore it, we discourage them to say, you're not a scholar, don't study it, don't touch it. You're not even letting them take one step for fear of misguidance. You know what? The misguidance of never reading it and never touching it is, I think, a lot more dangerous than, abandoning the word of Allah. I think would be a bigger problem than your fear that they might misinterpret something. Yeah, they might misinterpret something. And you know what? Then they'll find out, ask people, go, investigate. There's no shortage of resources, and they might find out that what they were thinking was the right thing, or it was or maybe needed a little bit of adjustment. Oh, I didn't think about it that way. I see. And their mind will expand. And every time you get one of those questions answered, your desire to dive deeper into the Quran will strengthen. That's actually what's going to happen. And your bond with Allah will strengthen because your bond with the Quran is strengthening. So you're on the right